Good morning, Patriots, and welcome to the Patriots Prayer Podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Smith, and today it's part 3 of Patriots Against the Machine with Cain and David Baumblatt, ex-FBI agents turned whistleblowers with amazing stories to tell. I've interviewed them both individually and now together as in one interview that we cut up into 3 parts. This is part 3. If you haven't seen part 1 and 2, go back and watch it. I promise you're going to want to watch those or listen to those episodes. But as we get ready to get into this next episode, folks, just remember, we just want to give a special shout out and a special thanks to those of you who've been with us from the beginning of this. And for those of you that are newcomers to the Patriot family, please, if you have not yet, go ahead and click that like, follow, subscribe button, whatever it is, whatever medium or platform you're watching us on, make sure that you click that like, follow, subscribe button, leave us a comment, let us know what you think. But, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this one. David Baumblatt, Cain, Patriots Against the Machine, part 3. See you after this.
And I will tell you, if I get in there, they're going to have a reckoning to deal with.
Nate, I said it, and I'm in it, and I don't say things just to go along and get along, but I view both of you guys as American heroes. You guys have done things that I've said already, 99.9% of other people wouldn't do. I mean, you took risks in order to bring information out that you knew they were going to upend your life, and you didn't know what the end result would be in the beginning of your journey on this road, but you just knew that you were doing the right thing, and the thought of doing the wrong thing was more than you could live with. And that, to me, is the mark of a leader. And anyone in West Virginia who doesn't see that would be very remiss, because what we complain about in politics is the same damn thing. All these people are bought and paid for. They never do what they say they're going to do. It's politics as usual. And here you have a politician who's not politics as usual, who has already bucked the system and risked everything to do it, to do what is right. And my friend, I think all you need are the optics. All you need are people out there to know that. The barrier between you and political office is just that little bit of knowledge. Those people need to know that. And if those people know that, you're a shoo-in. You are absolute shoo-in. But I have a question for you. You talked about a parent's bill of rights, and I put a little clip up here, and I'm going to bring it up again. This is a video. This is a real video, and I always give props to where I get these things from. And this came from the guys over at Libs of TikTok, and they're just amazing people with the stuff they put out. But listen to this, and I want to get your take on it. So, brainwashing technique, if I ever saw one.
Yeah, what the state has done is they've given power over to child predators. This is predatory behavior is what's going on, and it's state sponsored. Mm-hmm. They are, basically asking your child about sexual issues, asking your child about, whether, and also giving thoughts and putting thoughts into their heads. And, no one has a right to take a parent's, to take that child who's under the custody of the parent and basically start giving them psychological treatments or medical treatments. So
without the parents' consent or knowledge.
Well, so they've used something called parentis in loco, or in loco parentis is the name of it. They've used this law, this obscure law, which has been abused and used for way more than whatever it was ever intended for. The intention of it was so that if your kid falls and breaks their leg, they can, and they can't get a hold of you, they can contact the, emergency services or whatever. But no, they're using it to take kids out of class, to indoctrinate them into transgenderism, which is a mental illness. It always has been by the, diagnostic manual. And they're, and in this case, with a lot of kids, man, kids are very impressionable. And so now it's hip and cool, to say that you're, some other sexuality or some other gender, there's
it's a trend or a fad and that sort of thing. And when it's propagated, I don't think that a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old considers the things that they're considering now without being led. I mean, you don't know whether or not to consider such things as whether or not you're a girl or a boy, unless someone's asking you the question. And if someone's asking you the question, my answer is, what the hell are you asking that question of a kid for? There are kids that want to be Spider-Man and Batman. I mean, we don't think that they're really Spider-Man or Batman. But when you have these types of leftist teachers that are out there that are essentially pushing this propaganda, there's another little bit of footage I have of a teacher that's begging people to donate books in her, I think it's like she's like second grade teacher, donate books that LGBTQ style books to her classroom, and that book Genderqueer. If you watch John Kennedy's cross-examination of those people that were pushing that book in the school, it just blows my mind that we even have to have these conversations.
So one of the things, section, I think it's section 8 of the bill that I wrote. It is institution, agency, representative, or employee of any or instrumentality of government, whether local, state, or federal, may expose or make available to a minor child and seen, indecent, or profane literature, material, audio, video recordings, internet materials, sexually explicit demonstrations or performances in accordance with federal laws set forth in 18 USC Code Chapter 71. Right now, we already have federal laws on the books that define obscene material, and that's it's 18 USC Chapter 71. It is so specific that honestly, I don't ever want to have to repeat it, and I didn't want to have to put it in here because it's pretty disturbing. Like, it lays out the specific, things that can't be seen and can't be showed to children. And what we are seeing in these books is the definition of that. I mean, it is obscene, pornographic material. I will, one of the books that I saw, and I brought these books down to the state legislature, and we basically set up tables in both rotundas, in the Senate and the House rotundas. And when they were coming out of special session, we brought them over to the tables. I opened it up to the pictures that were in there, and one of them was, showed a picture of an adult male, laying naked with a underage male. Another book had a picture of a woman on all fours with men standing around her masturbating and, basically participating in an orgy. And then in the words, it says it's okay to explore your sexual fantasies. And I mean,
this is crazy.
These are books that are supposedly supposed to be okay for 10-year-olds.
Here's a board meeting. And listen to what she says and what she presents. And it was too graphic for the board meeting, but this is what they're allowing the kids to see. Watch.
All 7 members.
Can't hear the audio.
Look at this.
Oh, wow.
This is a child's book or something?
Yes.
That is, and along with that 15-page.
What?
Okay, this is in children's libraries here in.
Why did he take it away?
By that committee unanimously at Plant Heights in multiple schools. There's 10 images.
So he wouldn't let her show it. in the session because of the cameras. He deemed it too raunchy for the cameras.
It probably violates FCC rules.
Well, this is, like I said, I go hard on China many times, but this ain't from China. This is the globalist corporations.
You're right.
This stuff wouldn't. I mean, people think I'm biased, but if you hear me about China, I go hard on China. That is these globalist corporations. All you got to do is go to an American globalist corporation's HR, liberalism, feminism, they're turning us into that. You know what I'm saying? But that stuff is no way. That would never be tolerated in China or whatever. But
there are multiple instances of this. This is just one incident. There are other incidences where teachers have had their students, and I'm talking about an elementary school, write down things like their preferred sexual position or who in their classroom they would do them with as the second question. And this really happened. And secret meetings with school counselors who help children with gender affirming care without the parents' consent or knowledge.
Yeah, it's
really nuts.
Just to tell you a story, and if you're an adult and you're a homosexual, it's all right. I'm big into freedom, but it's interesting. In my time in mainland China, I got so used to it. When I went to Hong Kong, I saw two guys holding hands. I was just shocked because Hong Kong's more liberal. But in mainland China, I'm telling you that none, zero. Because I went to Hong Kong and I forgot, oh yeah, that's what two gay guys do. Because after living years in mainland China, I never saw anything in like there. None.
That's why it surprises me to see so many liberals being pro-Palestinian, like holding signs queers for Palestine and all of these types of things. When in fact, it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Is it's oxymoronic? Just in general, like why in the world would you back a faction of people that would just take away your entire right to exist? When in fact, all you do over here is bitch, moan, and cry about people not giving you the right to exist, and then you back a group that would essentially take that from you. But it's really a standard that just kind of doesn't make sense.
When you want to predict the future, look to the past, look at the trends, and especially me, because I've left America in 2010, so I see it from a different lens when you're outside. And I'm just saying, where is America going? Where is this trend? It's just, to me, it's just getting more and more and more and more that this stuff, I think it's just going to keep getting worse until something bad happens.
And I want to make this offer to you, Nate, before we get out of here. If would it take about a minute of your time? And if you want to, it's completely up to you. But I'll give you the opportunity to make your case, and because I'm going to push this in a separate style of marketing promoted to people in your area. And otherwise too, but I will take all the proceeds given to me by our sponsors today, purchases made from those watching, and donate them to your campaign. So if you would take a minute when we're done, make that pitch to the listeners, and I would gladly do that without any problems. I would gladly do that.
Thank you.
We need people like you in office, and we need you back in the United States, David. That's, we need to get you back over here. What's happened to you is appalling, and it's un-American, and something needs to be done about it. And it takes lawmakers like Nate to be in a position to make stuff like that happen. And in the meantime, obviously, if there's anyone I'm sure that Nate could pass your story on to get this in front of the right person, I think that Nate is completely.
Absolutely. Either government or media, but if it happens to me, it happens to other people. But I think the American public want to know why am I not welcome military vet? It just doesn't make sense. Again, New York Times front page. This doesn't make sense. It's not a good. The American people are going to start questioning what's going on.
Without a doubt. What you were saying, David, about these globalist guys, these globalist corporations. So I think what's the main driving factor behind this is the Klaus Schwab and it's the World Economic Forum, the globalists. It is exactly that. And in fact, I posted up in your chat there, Wendo, an article here from the Free Beacon, where the UN is basically saying that minors can consent to sex, and this came out this year.
Wow.
They put out, in April of 2023. So the quote is, "Sexual conduct involving persons below the domestically prescribed minimum age of consent to sex may be consensual, in fact, if not in law." That's the UN. That's a direct quote.
Keep talking like that, and they're going to try to connect you to some Q conspiracy.
I tell you, to the American.
Well, they already did. And in fact, Media Matters wrote a hit piece on me trying to claim that because I had in my post of my bio on Twitter account, I have, where we go one, we go all, which was actually a quote that came out of a book written by General Flynn, that now I'm associated with QAnon. And, even though I've stated many times publicly, that while I don't have I don't have any issue with people who, are part of the Q movement or anything. In fact, most of the people I found to be, patriotic. I generally distrust anything that is anonymous. Remember, I'm all about transparency. And so I am not.
There's truth in it. Some of it, right? But I think that there's so much mal and misinformation tied up in it as well. I think that people that quote that just end up looking a little bit crazy.
Well, I mean, the thing is that Media Matters tries to, to make this claim, and their claim is disinformation. And in fact, what they did was they tried to basically get me canceled off of Twitter, because what the article was about was how Union Bank of Switzerland, shows up in an ad, next to my face or whatever. And they're saying,
you can't control that.
Twitter has, they're forcing, their ad revenue or whatever. They're gaining ad revenue from, QAnon people and stuff like that. So it's just nonsense.
Yeah. You can't.
But I take it as
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I take it as a badge of honor that Media Matters finds me to be, apparently relevant, so that they can, focus on attacking me.
When those on the left hate me, I know I'm on the right path. If the devil agrees with me, I know I'm doing something wrong. So it's absolutely okay that you don't like me or you think anything other than, especially if you're on the left, just means I'm doing my job. It just means I'm doing my job. I mean, I don't have an FBI background and that sort of thing. I'm a kid who grew up in Baltimore City. I was amongst the poorest of poor, but I saw things that would, make most people's hair curl. I've seen drug addiction ravage families. I've seen so much just dark depravity from people who just didn't want to rise. And then I saw people who came from that rose above it. And I'm the type of person that thinks to himself, you can do anything you set your mind to. The difference between most of those people there and the people who make it out of there, because the people that make it out of there actually take steps to, and they try. Anyone in this country can be anything they want. And it's just a matter of you setting goals and taking the steps to accomplish those goals. Now, before that, it gives me a segue into this. I'm very good acquaintances, friends-ish with John Ponder. And John Ponder was a guy who was pardoned by President Trump. He runs an organization to stop recidivism. And now it's just started going nationwide, and it's called Hope for Prisoners. Now, one of their big agendas is that they would have a pathway for people who really straighten their lives up to get from being termed a felon who can't live in this neighborhood, who can't get that job, who can't do these things, to open the ability up for them to succeed from coming back from, truly being given a second chance. And because these are the groups of people that, like I said, there are certain areas in cities which they can't live. They're allowed to be discriminated against. And what they want is the ability to go from that to being able to be a normal citizen with the right to achieve and succeed as much as anyone else. And we are the land of second chances. But it seems like here's the one area where there's an exception. What is your take on that, and what would you do to facilitate?
So I am 100%, for these types of programs that help people not, go back into the system. One of the issues that I see as a real problem here in West Virginia in particular is the issue of CPS and, children being taken out of the home. They get put into the system, oftentimes end up in a worse situation than where they were when they were with their parents. And oftentimes the crime that, has caused their parents to lose, basically lose their children has been crimes related to, fentanyl and methamphetamine use. I think that, obviously there are some situations in where kids, for their own safety need to be removed out of the home. But I think we have to take, an approach at trying to reunify and bring families back together, especially when somebody, has changed their life, is putting them, their life back on track. And it really bothers me that in West Virginia, if you have your children taken away and they've been taken away from you for more than 2 years, then you are stricken from the birth certificate. Literally, they take your name off the birth certificate of your child.
What right do they have to do something like that?
And the worst part about it is that CPS is one of those circumstances where we don't have a full adjudication, through the courts before they take your kids. They can take your kids before you've been charged with anything. And in fact, without any evidence, on the basis of, a lying, ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend or somebody in their neighborhood that doesn't.
Yeah, we don't need evidence anymore. We don't need proof.
No.
We just need public perception.
So to me, that again, it all boils down to rights, and it is a deprivation of rights, on without due process. Mm-hmm. And I don't agree with that, and I 100% want to see people who have made mistakes in their life, turn their lives around and and be able to become productive members of society when they get out of jail. Because if they don't, then the likelihood of them ending up and going back to jail is very high.
Well, so my listeners understand this, that this particular organization, Hope for Prisoners, has the lowest recidivism rate for any program nationwide for people that go through the program. And what it does is it mends the relationship between those who offended and even the police. So they end up partnering with the police, and they get to see that these aren't their enemies. These we're people trying to fix our community, because all too often our perception of who the police are completely skewed, and intentionally so, by them trying to mislabel police officers as bad guys because of whatever shooting in whatever place, and then they it make that much bigger than what it actually is. It's a terrible thing, but they restore the trust in the community, and by doing so, you have people that were out there that did 15 years plus in prison. They're out there playing golf with a detective now, who's maybe the detective that busted them, but now they're the best of friends, and that detective is now the mentor of a guy who, believe me, in prison was not a nice guy. He belonged to such and such gang in prison and this sort of thing, but because they thought society had given up on them, and they get out and they go through this program, and next thing you know, they see hope.
Have you noticed the ever-alarming 400,000 cell towers that have gone up in the United States alone? How about the electronics that reside in every room of our homes, and Wi-Fi that runs 24/7? 5G cell phones are carried in our pockets hours on end. Common complaints are ringing in the ear: sleep deprivation, palpitations, headaches, memory loss, and so much more. Redemption Shield is on the cutting edge of offering products that protect your family from electromagnetic and microwave radiation. From Faraday bags, earthing bed sheets, Wi-Fi router covers, hats, scarves, bed sanctuaries. This will not be going away anytime soon. We will continue to see only faster speeds, 6G, 7G, and more exposure to EMF than any time in our history. Start protecting yourself now. Go to redemptionshield.com and get grounded and shielded today. Use code PATRIOT and save 10%.
And they come out and they try, and their number one complaint is, yes, but I'm stuck over here in this particular neighborhood, because when I try to rent an apartment over here, I can't. So I'm stuck in this area, this crime-ridden area that I don't want to be in. I've worked very hard to get out of it, and I can't. They won't let me.
Yeah. And, another thing too is, as a Christian, I have to believe in redemption and the power of redemption. I mean, I've seen God do amazing things and turn people's lives around. And so I think that we have to take a compassionate course. It doesn't mean that we have to be foolish and let people, you don't want to put people in circumstances. If somebody's an addict or something like that, you don't want them around other people who are dealing drugs and things like that. Sure. If somebody, was somebody that, was a molested somebody or whatever, should they ever be trusted around kids again? Probably not. Nope. You should have them, you need to have means of being able for these people, to become a part of society, but there do need to be some checks and balances. Somebody who is a thief, probably not a good idea to put them in charge of money, but we absolutely
feels great to hear you echoing the exact words that I've said before right back to me. It's very affirming to know that the punishment should fit the crime.
That's right.
That's simple. The punishment should fit the crime. There's so many people that get that felony charge thrown on them that that's enough. That's enough right there to make people.
And I'm of the opinion that somebody who has served their time and has paid for their crimes, that they should be able to get their voting rights reinstated and have a part as a citizen of the United States. I don't see how it would be, constitutional, when they've already paid their crime. Now, I'm not talking about just because they're out that they should be able to vote. I do think that, the probation period and all of that has to be done and complete. But when they've served their time and they've done all those things, I think they should have their rights restored.
Yeah, I've seen a video of a guy. It was a parody video. It was aimed at the Black community, and they were talking about how Joe Biden had the 94 crime bill had incarcerated so many and arrested the all of the parents in the neighborhoods that were drug related charges and things, and then left the crack dealers to raise the community. And he said all they wanted was their right to be able to vote in this thing back. They wanted to be able to participate in the system and have a say in what was going on in the community. And so here's the guy, Donald Trump, who comes along and gives it back to them, gives them the right to have those choices and have a say. And what did they do? They voted for the guy who put him back in jail. I mean, it's essentially what happened. And so now I think that's gone. That's gone. You have so many people across the United States waking up. You have chapters of BLM that are now pro Donald Trump and standing with J6ers. And this is the reason why I believe with all my heart that they are allowing this mass immigration into our country. They've
got to do something because they're going to lose every election from now until eternity on the way they've been behaving and the way they've been, just spending out of control and shackling the next generation, with debt beyond anything we've ever seen.
What is this poll numbers? 34% right now, 34. And then they try to say, well, even if they had the election today between him and Trump, it will be close. I'm like, in what universe? In what universe would that ever be close? I think that you're going to see when Donald Trump runs, you're going to see just like when Ronald Reagan ran, when they thought there's no way in hell. And then Reagan swept the country. Yeah. That means we have a very real probability of something like that happening where people are then you have your never Trumpers, right? No matter what. But the reality of it is a lot of that stuff is going away.
And we know that's true because that is why they have brought all of these coordinated, lawsuits and criminal investigations into Trump and indictments, one right after another, because they have nothing else. All they can do is to try to damage him in every possible way they can. They can't impeach him anymore. So now they're just indicting him for, useless stuff, and Bill Barr, he was right about one thing. They can indict a ham sandwich if they want to. And, and it doesn't matter that those indictments are being brought with, complete, baseless claims. Doesn't matter. They're going to try to damage him in any way. And they know they're losing that battle too. They know they're not going to win. So that's why they're moving on to now trying to get him kicked off the ballot in multiple states because
So they knew that he was coming back when he on his way out, when they impeached him the second time on his way out.
He should, again, I'm sure he's aware that the fact that they're doing all this must indicate that all the polling that's showing it's probably far worse for the Democrats than even what's being spoken about.
Yeah, because they do direct polling, right?
They lie. They did it.
They know exactly.
Remember, all the polls showed Hillary Clinton was going to win.
Yeah.
And then she lost by a landslide. So
even the exit polls were wrong.
Yeah.
By a lot too. By quite a bit.
By the way, I'm facing rigged polls here in West Virginia. So there's a polling company the only one that has done any kind of polling at all on the the congressional race. Mm-hmm. And they show my opponent at like 80-something%. Give me a break. Every single person I have talked to, if they most of them don't even know who Riley Moore is. Mm-hmm. I mentioned my opponent's Riley Moore. I go, have you heard of Riley Moore? And they're like, no, never heard of him. And then when I do tell them, yeah, he's the nephew of Shelley Moore Capito, whose son is also running for governor. So you basically have a family dynasty. I have yet to meet a single person who thinks that's a great idea. Not one.
Well, let me ask you, David. Mm-hmm. You get back in here to the United States, and I have full confidence that that'll happen, right? I have full confidence that will happen, because I think as much as the pendulum swings to the left, it just swings back harder to the right when it swings. So I have full confidence that'll take place. Would you consider a run for office?
Absolutely. I was thinking this, and I'm actually in the phones now with some other people about running. Obviously my situation needs to be worked out. New York's a very liberal state, but I was in the city
conservative New York? No way.
Well, but the good thing is I was in the city until I was 10 years old, and then I went to upstate New York. Upstate New York's different. Upstate New York is, and so I would look at upstate New York. That's where I grew up, you could say, when I was 10 years old. But we were actually in the talks, but it's in my blood. I'd love to do it, but I gotta fix this first thing that's going. But I bring a lot to the table, and that is especially foreign experience. And I can tell you, if anyone wants to go to Rumble, look at my name, watch episode 2 and 3 of me working for the Boeing Company and Amazon in China. Changed my mind. I'm telling you, these American globalist corporations, what they say in America, it's kind of like I was behind and what they do overseas in China, two different things. And I'm telling you, until we kind of get these corporations under control, we're going to lose capitalism, and these corporations are going to own us.
And just so my listeners know this, and David and I have already spoke about this, but David will be being added to the Patriots Prayer team. We're going to be doing weekly podcasts, and you're going to see David's going to be a fixture here. He's just got a unique perspective, and he's a likable guy, and he's a very honest guy. And just like Nate, he's fought this fight, and he's willing to do what's right. And we need people like him. So I want to keep him. I want to get David the optics and to be out there, so that we're going to continually work our way to finally being able to get this guy back home with his family where he belongs. And it starts right here. I like I said, I'm no FBI guy. I'm no politician. I would never be able to stand up to the scrutiny that you guys stand up to. And I would love to do it, because just like you, I would. I can't be bought or sold, and you can't threaten me with anything. I'm really not afraid of anything. So my way of fighting back is this right here. This is what we're doing right here. Is to bring the truth to people, and our motto here at the Patriots Prayer is truth matters, and it matters most. Truth matters more than your feelings. Truth matters, and there is real truth. There is absolute truth. Not all truth is not relative, and we've lost a lot of that, and we need to get that back. The selfishness that permeates our culture right now has led to a whole bunch of me first style thinking, which is kind of just that causes the lawlessness in our streets. We're seeing kids in a culture that don't care about their parents. They don't care about their neighbor. They don't care about their community. So they're willing to do anything without conscience. And we see assault after assault, robbery and theft. And murder and everything else. And we need to fix this. We need to fix our culture. And it starts with us getting these types of programs out there, with us confronting you about the reality of what's truly going on out there. And that's why I say here that when I say I'm unfiltered, I mean it. Unfiltered. I'm not going to consider in most ways what I say. It may be the way that I say it, but I'm not going to shy away from any topic or any subject at all. And I'm sure that you guys have already proven that you feel the same way.
Absolutely. It's going to be, I think Americans are going to realize that politics is going to become more and more important, because their security and economics in America is going to become more and more in danger. I think politics is going to be much more important as we go on.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I appreciate you coming on the program with me today. And Nate, I wish you all the best of luck on your campaign. And I'd love to say that I know a congressman, brother, and I think I do. So we really need you in that position. And any last things either one of you guys want to say before we get out of here? And Nate, stick around, because we're going to do that little promo afterwards. And this way, like I said, you do the promo. Anything that you get from this, any one of my listeners that are going to hear Nate here in a minute, anything that you buy through the sponsor, I will donate that 100% to his campaign. So go ahead, David. What were you saying?
I was going to give it an 8, but if anyone's interested in the unauthorized book, it was unauthorized, no FBI permission. Go to my website, the book, and I'm on Rumble. But yeah, let's hand it over to Nate, because Nate's in the fight right now.
Okay, so let me set up a quick little screen here. This is I love this software, by the way. I don't know if this I'll give them a shameless plug right here, but it's StreamYard, and they're a great software company. Let's take and put me. So Nate, the floor is yours, my friend.
All right.
Go for it.
Okay. So I just want to thank everyone, who cares about their country and who cares about truth. We've got to change things. We've got to change things in Washington, D.C. We can't have, I was talking to somebody last night, and I was saying, we keep sending people down there who claim, that they wear that title, representative, but oftentimes they don't represent us. They represent the special interests, the corporations. When I say corporations, I'm not talking about the small business, that resides in West Virginia. I'm talking about these multinational corporations, which have no loyalty to the United States. The Amazons, the Walmarts, like what David was talking about. He worked behind the scenes and saw some of that in action. The fact is that we have to get our country back. We need people who are going to be bold, who are willing to sacrifice, who are willing to be self-sacrificial. I don't have any reason to want to do this on my own. To be honest with you, I've got a great business. I have a great home. I finally got my life back, and and the Lord's restored a lot of what was taken from me. And there's no reason for me to do this. I got to take a pay cut to do this. I got to give up, living in this wonderful state, because I'll have to be down in Washington, D.C., doing the people's business down there. And this is really kind of like the last thing, that I wanted to do. But I'm doing it because I was praying and asking God to raise up righteous men and women. And I heard the Lord say to me, "What about you?" And my initial response was, "Well, hold on a minute, God. I meant other righteous men and women. I didn't mean me." But that's just it. How many of you out there, are willing to stand up and willing to say, "Okay, God, use me. Do in my life what you want." The fact is that all of this, everything that we have, everything that we see, all of the niceties that we have in life, they're all temporary. Everything on this earth is temporary. And so we're here for a purpose. And so I challenge every single one of you that listens to this show to ask yourselves, what can you do for God? What is it that God would have you do? Would he have you run for office? Would he have you, be a faithful prayer warrior to pray for your representatives? Would he have you contribute, to a campaign of somebody like myself, or somebody else? We all should be asking God, what is it, Lord, that you would have us to do? And so, The first and foremost thing that I would ask all of you to consider is to please consider praying for me on a regular basis, and pray for your nation, and pray that God raises up righteous men and women. Just be careful, because when you pray that prayer, you may hear, "What about you?" And the next thing that I would ask people is I would ask them to consider making a gift to my campaign. You can do that at NateCainForWV.com. It's right there at the bottom of my, just below my name. There's a link on that page in the upper right-hand corner where you can make a donation. It could be a one-time donation, or if all you can do is a small donation, make a small donation, but make it a regular monthly donation. The fact is that I can't run this race and do what needs to be done without money. But that money, I don't want it coming from the wrong places. It needs to come from individuals like you who believe in the cause, who believe in what I'm doing, that I know will be praying and not be looking to influence me, to do something that's not in the best interest of the American people, or in the, obviously, in the best interest of West Virginia. The fact is that right now, obviously the largest of donations have come in from West Virginia, but I've got people that have donated from California, from Florida, from New York, from Texas, from 36 different states that have all donated because they believe in the cause. You could be one of those people as well. I've made it a point in my life as well to also donate to other candidates that I believe are good candidates that will stand for the same thing, that will do the right thing, and that will stand up and protect the Constitution, which every single member of Congress swears an oath to do. Too often, though, they get down there and I think they forget the whole point and purpose of why they were elected. In fact, I think many of them get down there and it was never about that for them. I think for many of them, it was about, obtaining power. So I've made made a promise to do a few things that I think are going to be critically important to hopefully being able to set a new paradigm for transparency in Congress. And one of those things is that I will not meet with a lobbyist unless they agree for that conversation to be made public immediately. And I think that if I get in there and did nothing more than that, boy, what a great thing that would be. And so there's a lot of things that I have ideas and things that I want to do. And I've talked about those things in a lot of other, shows and things like that. But you can go on my page. You can see under the media section, all of the shows I've done have been recorded and they're put out there. I'm a very open person about everything in my life. I don't have a whole lot of secrets because, to be honest with you, my life has been public for quite some time, ever since blowing the whistle. And I believe that ultimately, God allowed me to go through the experiences that I went through so that I can hopefully be a light, to others and to be an encouragement to others. So I want to thank you, for having me on, Eddie, and thank you for the show and for what you guys are doing. And, and let's take back our country. As my name is, implies, Cain, let's go raise some Cain in Congress.
Well, David, it's a pleasure to say that I have met you and shared this time with you, and like to call you friend. And both of you guys, you guys have done amazing things, and I think amazing things are still very much in front of you. So with that, the silent majority, you need to stop being silent and stand your ground. We'll see you next time on the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It was everything I told you it would be and more, Patriots. Now, listen, I know a lot of people over promise, under deliver. I didn't do that. I did not do that. In all three parts of this episode of Patriots Against the Machine with David Baumblatt and Nate Cain, we continue to keep our finger on the pulse of American politics and pull the curtain back so you can see who's behind the curtain and how things actually work and who these people really are and how they actually operate. And we did that. And Nate Cain is an American patriot that definitely needs to be in Washington representing his state of West Virginia and representing the United States of America with an America First attitude. And that's what he is. He's proven himself. He's got the integrity. He's pushed through all of the things that 99.9% of people would have probably backed off from because of that integrity, because of that will to want to do right. And he wasn't dissuaded, folks, from doing what was right. Even when he risked everything, he risked his livelihood, he risked his life. I mean, Come on, people. Do you understand that here's a man that had two choices in front of him, a road this way and a road that way, and the harder of the two roads is the one that he chose. And why? Because it was right, not because it was easy, not because there was more money, more fame, or prestige, because it wasn't. It wasn't. It was the hard road, but it was the right road. And that is the test of a good politician. That is the test of a true leader. And he passed it with flying colors. So if you can, folks, $10, $20, whatever you can afford, go in the description of this podcast and you're going to find the link to his campaign website and anything that you can contribute. He's going up against special interest. He's going up against lobbyists. He needs help from any which way he can get it at this point. And regular Americans, that's exactly where he's got to get it from. All right. So guys, if you can afford $10, $20, please help this man out. He definitely deserves it, and America needs him. So with that said, the silent majority, you need to stop being silent and stand your ground. We'll see you next time on the Patriots Prayer Podcast. You guys have a great day.
My people of this country, and we're under attack. They ban us, they cancel us for speaking the facts.